Hello and welcome to City Beat. We are your central source of news and information for the city of Rocky Mount. I'm your host, Tamika Keenan Norman, and we have an exciting show for you today. If you recall, the other week we had our City Beat, which focused on blood donations. Ellen West from the American Red Cross was a part of the show. She told us about the process of giving and told us about the city's partnership with that organization. As a matter of fact, city employees can give blood every 56 days, and they're also given some incentives. And one enthusiastic city employee who's also a blood donor is Steve Warren with our Parks and Recreation Department. And he's here to talk with us today about the large amounts of blood that he's given and the many lives that he's saved. So welcome to the show, Steve. How are you?
Thank you, Tamika. It's good to be here.
Yes, great to have you on the show today. And Ellen talked very highly of you during our last edition of City Beat, and so many of the other employees as well. But tell me, how long have you been giving blood?
Approximately 30 years. When I had my first job out of college, there was a blood drive. I worked for a college campus, and they encouraged people to give, and I tried it, and I've been doing it ever since. So it's been about 30 years.
Wow, you're not much older than that, Steve. No.
Yeah, that's right. You're exactly right.
But tell me, how much blood have you given to date?
Right at 9 gallons.
That's a lot of blood. And, you know, we were talking before, we did the math, and that equated to about 216 lives that you've saved. Have you ever thought about it like that?
No, I really haven't. You know, I don't think I've done anything unusual. If I gave every 56 days, as you said, I could have given 22 gallons. So I've only given taken about half the opportunities that I could have.
But how does it feel knowing that you've done that and you've saved lives?
Well, it is gratifying, of course. And you know, I have a personal testimony about a family member that I'd be glad to share with you.
Yeah, tell me about that, because our city clerk, actually, Pam Casey, came to me. She was kind of the inspiration behind us doing this television show, and she said Steve Warren has a great story to tell. His dad was in need of blood for quite some time. I think he still does, from time to time. So tell me a little bit about that story, and is that the motivation behind why you give so much?
Well, initially not really, but it just happened to happen that Dad did develop a blood disease. He's 83 years old, been healthy as a horse all his life, and did develop this blood disease called myelodysplasia, where your bone marrow does not produce mature red blood cells. And so without them, you have to go to another source, which is donated blood. And that has sustained him for over 4 years. At first he was getting blood like every month, and of course as diseases progress, now he has to get red blood cells about every 7 to 10 days. But he's maintained a good quality of life as a result. But we know how vital blood is. It's life-giving, and he certainly would have expired probably about 4 years ago without it. But it's gratifying at his age of 83. He can drive, he can garden, he's remodeling a rental house. He just is inspiring that he just doesn't let it stop him. But and you know, the big thing is you know, having him here. So.
Excellent. Now, tell me a little bit about, does your family have a history of giving blood?
Actually not.
Okay.
No. My wife has given, but no. It's such an easy and simple thing to do. Everyone should give. And it's just it's a small sacrifice that does so much for someone.
You say everyone should give, and I remember my first time giving blood was actually as a city employee not too long ago. And a lot of people are fearful of doing it. What would you suggest to them? What would you say to them? How was your first time?
Well, you know, I know fears are real, and some of them are hard to explain. But, you know, I have a low pain threshold. In fact, I inherited from my dad's side of the family vagal syncope, which if you experience pain, you'll pass out. But after giving 9 gallons of blood, I've never had that experience giving blood.
Is that what vagal sync? What did you just say?
Vagal syncope, it's a sensitive vagal nerve. And,
Okay, I've never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll pass out due to severe pain. But never experienced that. Sometimes, I guess it's different for every person, their physical anatomy. But sometimes I don't even feel the needle. I mean, that's the thing people fear the most is the needle. Don't even feel it. And when I do, it's just like a little pin prick or somebody pinching you, and then it stops. It doesn't take much time. We were rewarded as city employees with some time off. The gratification of sustaining someone's life is a no-brainer for me.
Do you remember your first time when you gave blood in college 30 years ago?
Yeah, it was, there was some anxiety, but after the first time, you realize it's not bad. Some people, because of loss of volume of blood, will get lightheaded and even pass out. But even if you do that, it doesn't mean it'll happen the next time. And I've sometimes, a lot of times, I've actually, after giving blood, the next day or so, I feel better. In fact, you know, in history, people used to let blood for that reason, to make them feel better. But Dad's disease also causes him to have low platelets. So now his platelets are run around 8,000 or 9,000.
Okay.
And the Red Cross contacted me and said that I have an unusual high number of platelets. Mine are like 300,000 versus his 9,000. And so they are encouraging me to give platelets. So recently I've given platelets and plasma. You have to drive to Greenville to their center because they have the equipment there. And it takes a couple of hours to do that. But again, no problem. You can sit there and watch a movie or read a book while you're doing it. And so when I go, I give 2 bags of platelets and a bag of plasma in that one sitting. And again, it doesn't really affect me. My energy level is not affected.
So how
and you
often?
Can actually give, you're going to ask, you can actually give platelets and plasma. You can give platelets every 7 days.
Okay.
Plasma every 28 days.
And how often have you made that drive to Greenville to do
Well,
that?
I've just started it.
Okay.
They just contacted me not long ago, and I've done it now a couple of times.
Okay. Any parting words of advice for folks who are contemplating this, who might be fearful or don't know what to expect?
Well, like I said, it's such a small sacrifice with such huge benefits to society. I mean, it should be on everyone's bucket list. Something I think is easily achievable. Check that thing off, and I mean, they're always appealing for blood donors. They seem to never have enough. In fact, I get calls about the platelets almost every week. So, you know, the need is there, the gratification is there. I just plead to you to do what I've done. And I don't think I've done anything unusual. But, you know, in time, that adds up. And for me, it's 9 gallons of blood. But so I just encourage them to give it a try.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Steve,
You're welcome.
for joining us on the
Sure.
show today, and thank you so much for what you do as well.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you as well for tuning into City Beat. We're going to be right back, and when we do come back, we're going to switch gears just a bit. We're going to speak with our brand new downtown development manager. I'm sure you've heard all about him, John Gesso. We're going to get to know him a little bit better. And don't forget, before we go to break, if you want to know more information about blood donations, go to the website at redcross.org. I'm Tamika Keenan Norman. We'll be right back. PNC presents Downtown Live May 15th to September 18th. You're invited to the lawn of the Imperial Center for free concerts. Hear from groups like the Embers, the Tams, Fantasy, and more. Doors open at 5, music starts at 6. Thanks to PNC, and thanks to all the following sponsors. For info, visit downtownrockymount.com or call 972-1151. Join the City of Rocky Mount for Downtown Live.
Sorry, but it's over.
Is it the lying?
No.
Is it because I still live with my parents?
No.
The $200 I stole from your purse?
250.
Is it because I took your sister to Hawaii and not you?
No, Jerry, that wasn't it at all.
Then what is it?
You don't recycle.
What?
The City of Rocky Mount Police Department is taking proactive measures to prevent, reduce, and solve crime, and you can help. Hi, I'm Captain Brian McGrath of the Criminal Investigations Division, and we're pleased to announce the start of Text-A-Tip. Now, reporting a crime is easy. Text RMPOL and your message to crimes. That's RMPOL to 274-637. We get your information immediately, and the text is completely anonymous. So help us fight crime and Text-A-Tip today.
Hello and welcome back to City Beat. I'm your host, Tamika Keenan Norman, and if you're just tuning into the show, you missed Steve Warren with Parks and Recreation. We wrapped up our highlight on blood donation. As a matter of fact, Steve has given 9 gallons of blood, so we thank him for his service to the city and to the American Red Cross because it's resulted in so many lives being saved. We're going to switch gears. I told you a little earlier, you probably heard the name John Gesso, who's our new downtown development manager, and we're so excited about the many things to come. You'll get a chance to meet him right now. So hello, John, and welcome to City Beat.
Hey, Tamika, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so interesting because a lot of folks don't know, John is in the office right beside me. We're in the same suite. And it's so great because I've gotten to know you a little bit. So I said, come on, John, come on the show so folks can get to know you as well. So let's start off. Tell me a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, what you did before you came here. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, originally from New England, from Boston, moved to North Carolina when I was 10, considered myself a Tar Heel. Went to school at UNC Charlotte and moved here back in July.
Okay, so you've been here for quite some time.
We have. We've enjoyed it.
Okay, so when you say we?
My wife and I, Stacy. She's a Chief Development Officer at UNC Nash Healthcare.
Okay, so I guess that's what led you to Rocky Mount.
Correct.
Okay, so what's been your impression so far since July?
We love it. I mean, Stacy actually had 3 opportunities, and we chose to come to Rocky Mount, made a deliberate decision to move here from Charlotte, and haven't looked back since. It's been a wonderful opportunity. We live in a wonderful neighborhood close to downtown because we want to be part of the center of the city, and have enjoyed everything that it has to offer.
Okay, so were you acquainted in any way with Eastern North Carolina, having come from Charlotte?
I hate to say that I wasn't. I knew of Centura Bank and, of course, Hardee's and some folks. But what's interesting is after we told some of our friends in Charlotte that we're moving here, either they were from here, their parents or their grandparents were from here. And actually, 2 of Stacy's close friends, their grandparents built the houses next door to us.
Wow, so I'm sure they had a lot of insight to share with you about
and it's
Rocky
been wonderful.
Mount. So tell me a little bit about what you were doing before you came to Rocky Mount, your occupation.
I was with First Union, then Wachovia Bank for 18 years. My focus there was when the bank was expanding, either purchasing a bank or expanding to a new territory. I either integrated that bank into our bank or built out that new space, that new territory for Wachovia. And then after that, that was through 2010. And then in 10 and 12, I had the fortunate opportunity to go to D.C. and serve out a political appointment there.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that political appointment in D.C.
Former peer of ours, or my boss at Wachovia, was asked to come up to D.C. and to bring 12 folks up there with him to help putting some banking processes and procedures in place for federal student aid. Is putting some governance in place, and it was a neat opportunity.
When I saw that on your resume, I thought that was really impressive because I was the one who wrote your press release, made the official announcement. I said, wow, he's done some really impressive things. And your role at Wachovia was called, what, a strategic program manager, right?
Correct.
Okay. And doing that expansion, I'm sure, was a huge deal.
It was wonderful.
So how are you going to use the skills you acquired there and your time in D.C. to what you're doing now?
Well, both. I mean, moving out to a new territory where Wachovia wasn't known, it was about going out into the community, identifying who we were, building those relationships, and then that translated to my work in D.C. to where not only just building those relationships, but folks there worked in silos, so creating some bridges, and then transferring that here to where the same thing, working through people and building relationships to where people aren't working in silos, but working for a common goal, which in the end is a healthy and vibrant downtown.
Okay. And I thought you've already built some great relationships because when you came on the job, you knew some folks already in the community.
Well, and that's, back to moving here, that's been one of the wonderful things. I mean, we came from Charlotte, and we're not from down east North Carolina or from Rocky Mount, but everyone here that we've met has been so warm and welcoming, and that's been really dear to us.
That's great. So tell me a little bit about your role as downtown development manager, some of the responsibilities that you'll have.
Working with and through the different communities. There's 7 different, committees that are down here. The primary one being CCRP, the Central City Revitalization Panel. And then we have other ones that have an interest, or entities that have an interest in downtown, and working with them and bridging the communications between those two, so we're all working on a singular focus on healthy and vibrant downtown.
Okay. And I know you've only been on the job since, what was the date that you started?
May 19th.
May 19th. So not long at all, but do you have some ideas or some goals in mind already?
Right now, I do. But right now what I'm doing is kind of an inventory and assessment phase, identifying what the needs are, and then identifying the folks that can help us get to where we need to be.
Mr. Penny says all the time, downtown is so important. It's like the center of our city, the living room of our city in a sense.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel about that? How do you feel how important downtown is as far as even when you think about Rocky Mount itself and the Twin Counties region as a whole?
Well, downtowns are important for all communities. A vibrant downtown is a reflection of our community's image, pride, prosperity, the level of investment, all of which are critical factors when we're trying to recruit folks, both individuals and companies, to come here. It represents a significant portion of our community's tax base. If it declines, property values decline. A healthy Main Street core protects property values in surrounding residential neighborhoods. In addition, it keeps a healthy downtown keeps profits in town. The phrase "buy local."
Exactly.
And then for where we are positioned on 95 and 64, we are truly the gateway to Eastern North Carolina. So a healthy Rocky Mount is critical for the rest of the region.
Very well put. Let's talk a little bit too about it. You seem to be sort of a history guy to me. And I'm sure your friends have told you, and you've read about the history of Rocky Mount. So tell me a little bit about probably one of the most impressive things you've learned so far. Rocky Mount as a whole, or just, focus on downtown? Well,
there's a lot of things, but really one of the most impressive things is, the people that chose to come here in the very beginning, and the building of the railroads to then expand on the tobacco industry, and then of course cotton and textiles. But it was the fortitude of those people that did that then, the fortitude of the folks that helped during the flood of 1999, and in that I'm looking to tap into that same can-do spirit to bring back and to revitalize downtown.
Okay. So if folks have any ideas, maybe they're interested in doing a startup downtown, what do they need to do?
They can send an email to downtownideas@rockymountnc.gov.
Very appropriate. Anything else you want to share with us, John? We're really glad to have you on board. We've been waiting for you.
Well, I appreciate that, Tamika. Have certainly enjoyed getting to know you as well. I get up and I look forward to coming into work every day. The folks in this building, the folks in the city manager's office have been very warm and welcoming. And then on top of that, the folks that I've been able to engage with in this building, you can see the pride and passion that they have for the work that they do and for the citizens they serve.
Okay, well, we wish you the very best, and we're here to definitely support you as well. Okay?
That's great.
And I know you'll do well because you just have a great personality.
Thanks, Tamika.
Okay, John Gesso, I'm sure you'll see him around town, our brand new downtown development manager for the city of Rocky Mount. So look for some great things to come. I'm Tamika Keenan Norman. Thank you again for tuning in to this edition of City Beat. We'll see you next week.